Hey, it's spooky season, and I'm feeling a little bit festive, so I thought about this little known map called Nightmare. You might have heard of it. And since all the burnout of YouTuber after YouTuber playing this map has faded, I'm hoping that this video will be a nice breath of fresh air. A heavy recycled process and stolen bit of fresh air, but it's about time I did some slop. And just before we start, I do want to quickly say that I did have a challenge video ready to come out, but my hard drive had enough of me and just decided to erase itself. So no challenge video for you. But it was a really spooky one. I actually used the Alcar 9. Also, I decided to play this on mouse and keyboard, so when I inevitably get scared, it will hopefully show up a lot more. And it totally isn't about the fact that my controller wire decided to follow suit with my hard drive and break. I also planned to finally do some live commentary, but TechWiz over here managed to mess that up too, and my mic was just cutting in and out the whole recording, so it wasn't really fun. But that's enough about me. Let's finally see this map that you've all seen and played 1,000 times over. So the game started off with me waking up in a bed in a strange room, but luckily I escaped my restraints. I grab a pistol and then I fight off some zombies in the room. Wait, hold on a second, isn't this just Doom? I mean, it ticks all the boxes, right? I mean, you wake up in a strange room, you get out of your restraints, you then grab a pistol, and then you kill some zombies. I mean, I really do hope this is a nod towards that. For no other reason than it would be pretty cool. I was then led into a hallway filled to the brim with many of those same zombies, and well, someone who is controller brained and barely touches mouse and keyboard, I probably made this 10 times harder than it needed to be. I mean, look at my aim. Also, it didn't help that this section felt like it was never going to end. I mean, look at this. But when that section finally ended, I was jump scared by whatever the fuck that thing was. And then I was told to go and get a keycard. So on my way to get this keycard, I pulled the first shiny thing I saw. And well, as to be expected, that made a bunch of zombies rush at me. But I did find a bag with a shotgun in it. And the fact that I can't aim made this shotgun very valuable. I also learnt the fact that when you look into something in the game, it does not pause. So obviously I learnt from my mistake, and going forward I never made it again. What am I doing? I'm literally making the same mistake 2 seconds later. Past me was such a dumbass. We may be the same person, but I have nothing to do with him. But that previously stated shiny thing was of importance because it highlighted 3 letters for me to then put into a padlock, which then gave me the keycard, which took me to the elevator and up into the main part of this map. And I don't know if it was my PC or the map, but the elevator trip was unnecessarily long. But let's be honest, it was definitely my PC after its little trip to the ground. Ever since then it hasn't been doing so good. Also, a quick side note, I was vibing in the elevator till my finger slipped and I accidentally shot my gun, naturally scaring the shit out of me. But my time in the elevator had come to an end, but I was actually shown a really nice cutscene of this lobby, and then I was let loose to my own devices. But I didn't go long without getting scared again, because when I entered this room that was supposed to be full of dead zombies, they all rose up scaring the shit out of me once again. I love laughing at Past Me because every single time he entered this room, the same zombies would jump scare him and he just kept falling for it. And Past Me must have really enjoyed this room because he spent 6 whole minutes running around it, and this means the map makers did a really good job. But when he finally decided, cough cough, figured out that he was supposed to go through this door, we got greeted by a close friend, the Rats. We love the Rats. And I'm this close to making the Rats the mascot of the Buffett Sum channel. But also, we were rushed by zombies. And after killing all the zombies who stood against me, let's be real, they should have knew better, I was then led to a room full of water, which I was skeptical of until I heard a whisper in my ear and I turned around to a lovely sight of a zombie. But after killing him, my guard was dropped and I ran into this room and I was greeted by a fucking Aladile. I'm calling it that because I don't know what species it was, but regardless of species, the 60 rounds of lead I left in its skull didn't care, and I entered safely, realising that the bloodshed was not necessary and I could have just avoided the thing the whole time, but oh well. And after exploring the area I found half of a code and a fuse in a drawer, and I was to bring the fuse into the dreaded scary room, but luckily the game had mercy on me and I was actually able to place the fuse and leave the room untouched. And the second room was more of the same. I entered, I got rushed by zombies, except from this time they were jumpy crawly zombies which I did not like, and I didn't want to touch them with a 10-foot pole, but I guess that's what bullets are for. I also died a very stupid death in this room because I pressed my console key instead of Q, which left me very vulnerable, and many of you would simply just press the console key again, carry on and survive, but I'm not as great with the M&K art. So I pressed the random buttons on my keyboard, hoping to hit the console key, and then died, which led to me prying off the console key with a big ladle. For some reason, I had the big ladle on my desk. I still to this day do not know why, but this is one of the rare moments where you'll see me learn from my mistakes. But after all that, I looked around and I found a safecracker and the other half of the code. But this part of the code was very special. It had such a terrible jump scare behind it, but you know Past Me and it got him good. With code in hand I ran to the alarm room and I was greeted with another weapon bag. It was different between a MP5 and a big beefy machine gun. It'd be to no surprise which one I chose, and there was also a flamethrower in this room, and you know I felt badass after picking that one up. My power fantasy though was very short lived as I entered the third room and I died in record pace. No thanks to the great choice of the big machine gun which takes 50 years to reload. As I am an all-powerful god, I went back in time and grabbed the MP5 instead, and then I got through the room, but there wasn't anything too interesting to find here, other than another weapon bag, and these don't get important for a good while, since I ended up putting the MP5 down anyway and going back to the old shotgun, which carried me through a lot of this. And as you predicted, I went to the fourth room right after, which by far was the easiest one. I mean, all I had to do was sit in this little shower room and shoot whatever came through the door, and with my good old shotgun back in hand, it was the easiest thing I've done in this whole game. And now it's time for me to run around like an idiot trying to find out what to do next. And what I had to do next had nothing to do with me shooting this Molotov, but I did it anyway. Naturally, it set me on fire. But I was rewarded for my efforts when I found a weapon bag that I had previously missed, and this weapon bag gave me one of the coolest weapon designs I've ever seen on an AK-47. I mean, what do I really say about this? Just take a look at this eye candy. But after all that, I found a TV screen with a symbol on it, and I figured this had something to do with the control panel, so I ran around each room till I had seen them all, well, 3 of them, because I know I'm not too stubborn not to trial and error this. But after a good bit of messing, the console finally opened all the rooms, which was honestly really appreciated. But what was not appreciated was this door, which opened to reveal the Pentagon Thief, who I promptly shot 30 rounds into his skull, and in no way, shape or form did it even faze him. So before you say it, no, he cannot be killed with just a knife. I'm sorry, Stealthy Bravo, but there's no way I'm going near the man with the ability to shoot lightning out of his hands. And no, George Romero does not count. So what I had to do was grab this remote control and use it to drive an RCXD car around the map. Sounds simple, right? Well, it wasn't. I don't know what it was, but I could not get the controls down for the life of me. This thing was just so difficult to control. You had to use the mouse to accelerate and the keys to move around. So I just struggled a lot, and honestly, I'm going to spare you from seeing most of the footage of this because it just gave me a headache just to edit it. So my goal with this car was to open 3 vents and collect all the parts without touching the lightning placed kindly on the ground by our friend. And with my lack of mastery of the controls, I broke the RCXD a fair few times, which I had to run and repair. But once I collected all the pieces, the fun finally began, because I was able to drive right up to Yuri and blow him up. And that gave me a lot of peace of mind for all the challenges and everything he's put me through. So the Pentagon Thief dead, I was then tasked with collecting the body of Ted, which I would lie and say was a good friend, and I felt bad for using his body. But when writing the script, I actually had to look up his name because I'd forgotten it. So with me having no emotional attachment to Ted, you know it made stealing his body all the cooler. So my new robot body, I was able to open this door by, you know, doing this little pretty handy thing of literally turning my hand into a key. And it makes you think, what else can Ted do with his body? And it's probably good riddance that they took his arms away in transit. So once I was in the room, the first thing I did was to knife this painting, which did, well, nothing. So then I promptly looked around the room for a good 5 minutes, pressing an F on everything I could possibly see, and that's when I did the cardinal sin. I gave up and I looked it up on the internet. And well, the video I watched told me that I should have shot the painting instead of knifing it, and well, I don't count my quick internet trip as cheating. It's not my fault that the devs are highly discriminated against us British people for our love of stabbing things. So behind the painting there was a safe, and I used the safe cracker I got earlier on it, and it gave me a key to open this door to the chapel. And I guess Ted is just a one-hit wonder, since from now on he just kindly forgot his ability to open doors with his hand, which was very convenient for me. So inside the chapel, the Kronorium was just chilling there. So obviously I went to go and grab it, and I soon realised why it was just sitting there when I was shot to round 666 and had to fight for my life. And just on top of all of that, there was a fucking Blightfather. But honestly, he couldn't handle being set on fire and then promptly being filled with hot lead, so he wasn't too big of an issue. But still, a fucking Blightfather. Kronorium in hand, I then ran to this room and placed it in the bookshelf. And you know what this big all-powerful book in all of COD Zombie storyline did? It well opened a bookshelf door, and I'm starting to think I could just put any old book there and not been through the hell I just went through, but oh well. And the hell I went through was nothing to this tunnel, because upon entering it I got the message just keep moving, which is, well, never a good sign. And well, it wasn't this time either, because when I was running through this tunnel, the big thick sludge water slowed me down so much, and I was chased by these crackhead zombies which weren't affected by the water at all, and well, I did die a fair few times during this section. But upon reaching the end of the tunnel, I was greeted with a cutscene of Samantha dancing, which was, well, strange, but nothing could have prepared me for what would happen next, because Jack from Resi 7 literally burst through the stage under the name Nightmare, and then I was tasked to fight him. So it's boss fight time, and he had 3 notable stages. His first stage, he'd just throw whatever he could get his greasy hands on at me, and I'd have to shoot him while dodging it, and honestly this was easy. But then stage 2, he did the same thing, but he sent minions out instead, and honestly this made it a whole lot harder, until he climbed right onto the edge of the stage, halving my training area. And honestly, the saving grace of this fight was the abundance of stims, because honestly I don't think I could have done it, and he was just slamming his hands around the stage, and by the end of this fight I was begging for him to die, and he promptly listened and did. And after all that, I was greeted by a really well put together cutscene of Samantha waking up, revealing that this was all just a dream. meaning that everything I just did will be forgotten and it all meant nothing, and it was all just a dream in a little girl's demented head. And honestly, I'm okay with that. I didn't really like the responsibility anyways. And while I guess that's the end of the video, I just wanted to say that this video was meant to be made for Halloween, but unfortunately I was in a car crash the other day. A lorry had went into the back of our van, and I was kind of out of it for a good week. So I'm sorry about that, but at least I'm back on it, and it also meant the footage from past, you know, I don't know how to describe it, from midway through the video, I stuttered a lot and I didn't say words properly, so I'm sorry. It's just, I'm still a bit concussed. It messed my head up pretty well good. But even then, you just heard it then, that didn't make any sense. But I do want to say thank you, and I want to say thank you to the NZP. Jesus Christ, that was a while ago that video was. But either way, I want to say thank you to the Nightmare team for making this amazing map. Honestly, I was blown away by its quality. I mean, even the cutscene at the end. Tag the Totem had literal pictures of cutscene, and this one managed to make a full-on, full-fledged cutscene. It makes you wonder what Passion can actually do. But other than that, like and subscribe if you feel implied to. I ain't too bothered if you do. I do this for fun. But, well, see ya.